This is my answer to everything.
Hey guys and gals, welcome to this week's pre-foreclosure tip of the week. Bob Lachance, Chris the drummer Bowes. I don't know if you guys noticed though, but Chris got a new pair of glasses and he looks pretty good. Those are a pair of...
Nerd alert!
Those are a pretty good, nice pair of Ray-Bans.
Oh yeah?
Times are good for Chris. Times are good.
Sure.
But anyway,
this looking like a nerd good.
All the chicks love them anyway. But anyway, this week we have two tips this week. Okay, one of them is going to be the obligation that we have to see deals through and not to quit when you're dealing with a short sale property. Okay, we'll dig in deep in a second. That's number one. Number two, we're going to talk a little bit about one of the bigger lenders right now and what they're doing in non-recourse states. Okay, we'll talk a little bit about that, a little story that we're going through right now. Okay, let's touch upon the first thing I talk about, Chris. I saw you're ready to say something, so...
Oh, all right.
He always is, though.
Dealing with, yeah, this one we're dealing with a property that we had out in Waterbury, Connecticut. This is one that's actually been going on for close to a year.
Nice area, though. Nice area. I'm just kidding.
So we had this one a year ago, worth about $230, and it was being handled by a local branch right in Connecticut here of American General, the buyer's or the seller's lender. And what happened was, over time, is that this branch, as many have, closed down, went out of business.
Yep.
File went out to the corporate headquarters out in Indiana, and over the course of about the last year, the market value on this thing has dropped from about $235 down to what we've got approved right now, which is $133, $100 grand.
$100 grand plummet. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you have seen this in the inner cities, which, you know, everything was so overvalued. So you're going to see this a lot in your inner cities if you're doing a lot of work in there. Okay, go on.
Right. Yeah, so basically at this point, that's where we are. We're on the brink of closing this one up this week. And yeah, from the starting point of 230, we're down at 130 now.
Okay. So the whole point on this here is, number one, if a loan gets transferred, don't quit on it. Okay, do not quit on it. You and I have an obligation not only to our sellers not to quit on them, but we have an obligation to ourselves and our own businesses. Because what happens if you start quitting on some of these, Chris?
Well, you're not going to be successful at all. So
you're not going to be successful in business if you quit. Okay,
right.
we see things through. I don't care if it takes 1 month, 2 months, 6 months, or a year. We see things through to the end. Okay, again, we have an obligation not only to our sellers, but we also have an obligation to our buyers if we're representing buyers.
Right. And
also to ourselves and our company. Okay, so that is a great tip, guys and gals. Do not quit.
Yeah. And the other thing is, too, just one other point to add to that. A lot of people I know, when an initial offer does not get accepted at a bank, which also was the case in this one, because the bank initially wanted $230, and the only offer we had at the time was $200. You know, we obviously kept on it, kept it on the market, kept pursuing buyers, and finally, over time, it was like, this is probably the 4th or 5th offer we've had on. So you guys, you know, not only with value drops, but you guys will probably also have, you know, multiple offers that come and go, because maybe a first or even second offer is not going to meet the investor's guidelines based on what their current appraisal or BPO is. But know that usually most lenders, after 2 or 3 months, will order a new BPO. So they'll take into account the drop in the value and the market value decrease.
So that is a huge tip right there. After about 2 or 3 months, lenders today are redoing their valuations. That's extremely important. Make sure you guys take great notes on that one. And that's also good to set expectations with everybody involved.
Right.
That was a good point. Chris snuck that one in there. I didn't know you were going to talk about that one.
Had to.
I like that. The dude's got it going on. I like it. But anyway, that's that tip right there. Now let's talk about what's going on with Aurora in a non-recourse state, which is Arizona, that we're dealing in right now. So what is going on with that property?
Well, this one we had an offer of $250, so the net that Aurora was going to take out of this one was about $218, $220, I think was where it fell. So, however, the total payoff on this loan is about $550, $560. So here was a situation where this was the first and only mortgage on this property, was going to be taken a little over $2, and sacrificing about $350, $340.
So they were going to lose $350, $340.
Huge loss.
Yeah.
And you know, so in a situation like this, what we've seen a lot out of first mortgage holders, believe it or not, is that they will try to obtain a promissory note from the sellers. Now, one thing to understand is that, you know, a lot of people may think that, you know, that they're trying to extort money, but this is primarily...
And this is not, we're talking about a non-recourse state, so if the bank takes the property back, they have no recourse.
Right.
So that's what Chris is talking about in this situation.
Right, exactly. But, you know, just understand that the motivation for a bank here is number one, the huge loss. You know, they're just going to be trying to recover as much as they can. And the fact that what they're doing is they're looking at the seller's credit, and they're looking at what the breakdown of their income and expenses, and what they're seeing is that most of these prom notes, $100 a month, $200 a month, that sellers can afford it.
So what they're doing right now, even though they're non-recourse states, they are asking our sellers to sign a promissory note. Okay, which obviously, as you know, if the bank takes the property back, they can't have them sign a promissory note, and they get nothing. However, their leverage, what they're doing is they're leveraging our clients, and they're saying, listen, sign a promissory note for 10 grand, 20 grand, 30 grand, or you're going to have a foreclosure on your credit.
Right.
Even though that's the only leverage that they have, you know, on our sellers, and they're telling us this.
And then non-recourse states.
Non-recourse states. So just make sure we're crystal clear on that. Okay, crystal clear on that. So that's extremely important.
Right, and just know too that, I mean, it's not... Usually there's two things that they're going to look at, as we said, the loss, depending on what they're losing, and, you know, whether or not the seller can afford it.
By pulling their credit. They're
by
going to
pulling
look at
their
your credit.
and by looking at their income and their expenses.
Great way to set expectations, too.
That's right. Still not a guarantee, but just those are the two factors that usually, if those two things are present, then, you know, you might want to tell your seller just to be on the alert for that. So. Okay,
that's good stuff. Well, anyway, guys and gals, that's this week's pre-foreclosure tip of the week. Okay, again, all of our ManageMyShortSale.com users, we have our newsletter that's coming out this week, and also our training call on Wednesday. Okay, it's a killer training call for about an hour and a half, and it's all mostly Q&A. So every question or concern or whatever you have in your short sale business, it gets answered. Whether you're an agent or an investor, it gets answered. So anyway, guys and gals, Chris the Drummer Bowes, Bob Lachance. We'll see you guys next week with this week's pre-foreclosure tip of the week.
This is my answer to everything.